We all work for ourselves here. Yep. If you've been in business for a while, a couple of things have probably happened. Or even if you're new, you're probably still starting to notice these things. There are ways that you can get clients with ease, and there are ways you can get clients with a lot of effort, and there are plenty of ways to just not get any clients. Is this true? Right. I want to talk about looking at how to get your next client. And the way that I know how to do this is a couple of different steps. We want to take a look at who is your ideal client, for one. If you've been in business, chances are you may need to revisit that. And if you're new, you definitely need to visit it. We need to take a look at how you're going to get those people, as in how are you going to be magnetic and attractive, which means that we're going to take a look at your superpowers. And then we need to make sure you've got a system that you're consistently working. A system and the consistency married together. Does that sound like you all are in the right room because the cooking demonstration is down the... Okay. When we take a look at getting your next client, the way it seems to go in my head is, wow, I don't know, not necessarily every day, but there are these days, right? I don't know how I'm going to do that. This is going to take a lot of work. Oh my God, especially at the beginning. Like, just forget about it. Might as well just like lie on the bed and, how am I going to do that? The thing is, you want to make sure that your marketing matches your strengths. So let's talk about that first. I like this idea of superpowers because I think superpowers sound a little bit more fun than strengths. Knowing what your strengths are in terms of what do you bring to the party as a person, as your personality, what do you like to do in your marketing activities, that's going to make a huge difference. I see a lot of people shoulding. I should go to networking events. Okay, if you happen to hate them, that's not going to be super effective marketing. If you have, just saying, thank you, right, the duh factor. However, I can't tell you how many times I went thinking, well, that's what you're supposed to do, so I got to figure out how to do that. Okay, not my strength. Kind of hate it, actually. Super not my strength. To something else like speaking or writing, I enjoy those things more. So go figure, I'm more effective at them, which means that I'm more attractive to potential clients. And I know I'm not saying anything revolutionary here, and I also know how often I don't do it, and how often the people I work with as clients don't do it, and when I go to some of these events and talk to other business owners, how much I see them not doing it. It's kind of frightening how much it's rampant out there that we're doing things marketing-wise that we think we're supposed to do when we think they're going to be effective, except they don't match our strengths. This is low-hanging fruit for sure. If it's not matching your strengths, then please just stop doing it. Do everybody a favor, not just yourself. Do the rest of us a favor too. Just stop doing it. Right? You totally have permission. Permission is granted to never go to another networking event or give another speech or write another article if those are not things that you love. Which means you need to figure out what you love. In order to figure out what your strengths are in marketing sort of sense, you want to do some sort of external assessment is usually really nice. I like something like the Strength Finder because it'll give you things like I'm good at really connecting with people, or I'm good at making something big picture, something from the big picture and turning it into an action plan, something like that. If you've got those kind of strengths, you could apply them a lot of different ways. If you happen to like networking, you could apply it in that arena, but if you don't, you could also apply that to the writing. So discovering your strengths, it's a little bit like figuring out what your flow is, right? Am I better in a crowd? Am I better one-on-one? I had a meeting this week with a lady who's just an inspiring entrepreneur. She still has her day job and she's hopeful. She's really hopeful. Bust out of there in a year or two. And she's like, but I can't do all those big group things, and I know that's what you have to do. I'm like, actually you don't. So for her, she's going to look for something in marketing that's better suited to her introverted, one-on-one, intimate style. And she'll be more successful. All right, we want to match our marketing to our strengths. I know this is a little bit obvious, and we definitely want to make sure we're doing it because people forget. The next thing you want to do then is figure out who your ideal client is. So now that you know how to talk to them in a way that's going to be effective for you, it's going to be even more effective if you're talking to the right people. There are a lot of ways to figure out who your ideal client is. The easiest way is to look at who you've been working with that you've enjoyed and get more of those people. A lot of us, especially when we're newer, or if we've been around for a while, if we're feeling a little desperate for whatever reason, we will start to just, like, do you have a pulse? Awesome. Pretty sure we could do some work for, you know. Right, you're the one I want. You're breathing? Sweet. Let's make a deal. This is not a great marketing strategy. Figuring out who your ideal, note to self. Damn, that was the problem. Figuring out who your ideal client is not really as complicated as a lot of people. People are like, oh, you have to know your niche, and you've got to have your USP, your unique selling proposition, all these things. Okay, wow, my head hurts. And I help people figure this stuff out for a living. I don't talk that way because it doesn't mean anything to me, right? I want it to mean something. Say it in language that your head understands. Who is my ideal client? As in, who do I actually want to spend 8 hours a day with, and I want them to hand me money for it? Is that a little too crude? But let's face it, right? Exactly. The clients that I love working with, they love me. We love being together for a long time. I don't have a lot of client turnover. Maybe half of my client turnover is within a couple of months because I do business coaching. So there's a lot of people that kind of come for a quickie, so to speak, and then they go. Most of my people are the 2+ years. I mean, that's crazy talk in this kind of business. I have people that have been like 5-6 years in with me because I figured out who I wanted to be with, and they are people who like to be with me in that same kind of way. It's a nice match. And the way I did that was I just did a lot of trial and error. Who did I enjoy hanging around with? Who did I see had the kind of problems that I enjoyed solving, problems that also matched my strengths, by the way? So I'm not solving things for money, because I could certainly do that. There's a lot of things I know how to do. I'm great at process consulting. You do that in corporate America, not a place that I happen to personally thrive. So while I might be able to make a lot of money doing that, I wouldn't be making it in a way that would actually be sustainable, right? So we want to make sure that all of these pieces match. Which brings us to the third piece, which is your marketing system and your marketing consistency. We need coherence in your marketing strategy. If your strengths and your marketing strategies and your ideal client and what you're doing to get the word out don't flow with each other, these pieces might be awesome, but if they don't fit into one big puzzle, you're still not going to have that level of ease that we're looking for and that level of effectiveness. So it's not just about the ease, it's like, did it work? Right? Because if people aren't coming in the door or expressing some type of interest so that you can have a sales conversation at all, then one of these pieces of the puzzle is out of whack. So looking at a system means I figured out what my superpowers and strengths are. I've figured out marketing activities that I can do on a daily basis, weekly basis, quarterly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis. It depends on what you're choosing. It's going to have its own rhythm and flow to it, right? So you have a timeline that's attached to the type of marketing activity that you're doing. All matches your strengths, all matches the kind of people you actually want to be spending your time with. Poof, all of a sudden, we've got a whole stream of people in our pipeline for us to talk to, and some of whom are going to say yes, and some of whom are going to say just flat out no, and then some of them are going to say yeah, but not today. And then they go back into the stream. We just have this continual cycle of all of that. So let me give you a quick example of how that might work. I had a writer who I worked with, Mary. I worked with Mary, of course, for several years, and she was lovely. She came to me. She'd been in business 15 years. She knew who her ideal client was. She had her marketing all sorted out. All she needed was help writing a children's book because she wanted to write one, and she couldn't figure out how to put it in her schedule. About 2.5 years later, she wrote a book. And, it's a children's book, so it's like 10 pages long. 2.5 years. She came to me. All I needed, just help me switch up the schedule a little bit, and we'll get her done. Okay, great. 2.5 years later, she writes the book. What happened in the middle? We figured out mostly that she didn't really understand who her ideal client was, and that she was doing a lot of this marketing and efforting in a way that wasn't producing the results she wanted, which was really frustrating. And she thought she knew who her ideal client was, but that had changed because she had been in business so long and she hadn't bothered to re-ask the question. So if you've been in business for a while, let's re-ask the question. Do I still love those people? Awesome. If I don't still love those people, how would I want to switch it up? When Mary went through this process of figuring out, obviously we did a lot of things, but revisiting her strengths and her ideal client, and then the marketing strategies, she rewrote all of her marketing materials, her website, her brochure, changed up her business card. She put it all out into the world, and she started to get more interest in what she wanted to do. It seems a little obvious, but really nice. People were showing interest in her. And in fact, the guy who owned the company that she had used as her model ideal client actually called her on the phone and said, "Mary, I was just looking at your website, and it's like every line was written just for me. I can't believe it. I'm so flattered to know that I'm your ideal client." He did not know that she had used him as the model. So she's over there like, yes, it totally worked. I love that story. Wow. If you take the time to remember what your strengths are marketing-wise, give yourself permission to not do something that doesn't fall within your bailiwick. Make sure you're speaking to the people who actually spark joy in you so that you will spark the joy back. And then make sure you've got a system like whatever those marketing activities are that match your superpowers, like speaking, because I'm doing a speaking thing today. Like if I had 3 speaking engagements booked every month for the rest of the year, that would be a consistent marketing strategy that I was working. If you do these 3 things, the chances of you getting clients go up, the chances of you getting clients that you love go up, and the chances of the clients sticking around longer go up too, taking for granted you're providing the value that they came to you for. I encourage you then to take a look at the marketing that you've been using and see if one of these pieces might need a little adjustment, and if it does, please give it that kind of adjustment so that over the next month and the next 6 months and the next year, you can continue to be successful and your business will look like you want it to look and feel like you want it to feel. Good luck and let me know. Thank you. Thank you.